Oh, we're good? Okay. Okay, as many of you know, concern of most of the councils has been the increased use of personal electric vehicles on MTA transit. So we do have some concerns, and based on those concerns, we've been chasing the MTA to finalize a policy on this. So to give us an update on that, we've invited Carl Hammond, who's the Deputy Chief Safety Officer for the MTA. And Carl, it's all yours.
Thank you. As noted, the policy is still being reviewed and drafted. You know, there obviously is a lot of concerns with regards to these vehicles and that the potential hazards that they can pose, and try to put mitigations in place so that to alleviate those hazards and make them safe for the system. I'm not sure where's the camera where I'm supposed to be.
You can look right.
Oh, there. Okay.
Look right at the left.
Oh, hence myself.
There you go.
So what we've done is we've reached out to a bunch of other agencies. We reached out, done hazard assessments for the our operating agencies, and come up with some guidelines that I think are relatively basic and common sense in regards to it. For the most part, these vehicles, I think everyone would agree that taking the battery out of it is similar to having a bicycle or a scooter that is allowed in the system currently. So what we've done is come up with some guidelines with regards to high-level restrictions. Like I said, it's still going through review, going through the legal and all the different channels, but the biggest piece that we've seen, the biggest hazard is the charging piece, right? So the charging. So what we've done in the transit system, I don't think that's much of an issue because there aren't many places where people can plug things in, but on some of the railroads, with the newer equipment, there is. So there'll be a restriction as far as no charging. And then there'll still be the restrictions as similar to bicycles and other such, where you're not allowed to operate them, you need to carry them, you need to walk them. They need to be stowed in an area, size and weight similar to what the bicycle policies are, because we don't want some of these vehicles are getting bigger and bigger, and we don't want these big, for lack of better terms, something like the Harley Davidson coming in, that's an electric vehicle, and clogging up the walkways. So it can't block egresses, it can't be an impediment to the workforce or to the customers or anything else. So we have that. Also, the no charging piece, also one of the requirements is informing people that the battery should be UL listed, so that it does away with a lot of the repacking and the less tested type batteries. That's the high level piece of it. A lot of it is just some wording as far as going into it. Like I said, we've come up with the draft. It's gone through a number of iterations. It will continue until it's finalized, and then, as I mentioned to Lisa, is that we'll circle back prior to it being 100% and going out, just to make sure that the concerns, I'm sure there's concerns here today, and willing to listen to whatever it is. If we haven't thought about it already or put something in place with regards to try to mitigate out the concern or the risk, this would be the time to do it.
Well, that's exactly why we want you to come here. Hey, Randy, you have your hand up?
Yeah, we're having problems hearing all of the wording. So if I'm going to ask a question that that the call is addressed, I apologize. Can you in the meantime, can you put signs on the outdoor that they're not to be used for those kind of things? Because I sent a picture to Lisa that I took on. We were coming back from a meeting, Walter and I, who's next to me, and I saw the guy had his bike plugged in, and when I questioned him about it, he said to me, well, no one ever bothered me about it before. Well, I said, you really shouldn't have it in there. And he just ignored me. But then the MTA police came and they made sure that thing was surely removed from the plug and handed it back to him. So are you planning to put any kind of signs next to these outlets where they're available? Thank you.
Yeah, so one of the elements that we're working on, besides just the policy directive informing the agencies what's allowed or not, is guidelines with regards to, which is similar, very similar, it's just a truncated version, with the restrictions that will go out to the public. And we're also working on a campaign both internally and externally, for external comms as well as internal communications, so that people know what's acceptable, what's not acceptable, with some photos. Clearly, we'll try to cover as many different versions as we can. But the major thing, the plugging in, like you said, that's probably the biggest concern. And that mitigation will be incredibly helpful to ensure that it's a safe process to do and put guardrails on stuff that's been going on already.
Okay, some of the concerns that have been raised by various council members and actually myself as well. We know the MTA had a big deal a year or so ago about bicycles not needing permits on the trains, and most of us are fine with that, bicycles. But the fact of the matter is that the position now is many of these devices can come on the train without a permit. And I personally feel, and I think there are other people in the room feel as well, that if you're going to have a motorized device, you should have a permit for it, so that someone looks at it and certifies, yeah, that's okay to bring on board. I know the unions would probably give you some pushback. They don't want to have that, make that determination. It makes it a lot easier for everybody. Either you've got the sticker on it that you have, that it's been approved, or you can call the MTA police and they can remove the person. So that's a biggie. Again, we're not asking for bicycle permits. We understand why the MTA wants more people to ride with bicycles, but if it's motorized, a particular concern of ours is anything that has these lithium batteries, because God forbid they go on fire, they're almost impossible to put out. It's brutal.
Right, and that's, we can look into that. I know that there was a process, I need to see, Zach, look into a little bit more the process of why that permit process was pulled back. And then, because they're logically very similar to the bicycle type of vehicle in some cases, except it has the battery piece to it, and with our the mitigation of not being able to plug it in and being UL-listed. But we can look into that.
Okay, well, we're just trying to be proactive.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
Do you have a question?
Yeah.
Carl, one of the issues that you didn't raise, but which I've seen more frequently, unfortunately, is e-bikes zooming down subway platforms and subway mezzanines. And of course, they're not registered, they don't have insurance, so you have no idea who it is who hit you if you're unfortunate. So what can we do about making sure that we have signage, that...
Yeah, well, that's part of it, not using these modes of transportation, right? In our system is one of the rules as well, for the reasons you said. People, they're not as controlled. There's a bunch of hazards with it. But yeah, we'll have that, and that's one of the things that we focus on besides the charging piece, because that's the second hazard of not necessarily going on fire, but of it harming someone as they're just in their daily commute.
And they're going to sue. They're not going to sue the person to him because he'll be off. So they're going to be looking to sue the MTA if anybody gets injured. We want to reduce our liability. All right, Ms. Carter?
One thought that I have, in the event that you decide to go the route of having permits, consider having the permit status on the app, so, because the app has everything on it, and it would be easier if I go in to buy a ticket and I have a bike permit, which I don't, for that to be shown on the app so that the conductor would see that when they took the ticket.
Good point, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Jerry? Yeah, Chris?
Yeah, there was one thing, I know Andrew mentioned the subway station, but we're also forgetting Penn Station and Grand Central. We see them there as well. The other day, as I was doing the Grand Central Madison walk before I met Metro North Community Council, I see those scooters, whatever you wanna call them anymore, because I just call them dangerous things anymore. The bottom line is they don't have respect for any senior or person with disability. And they see them, they're walking, or some of them may be using not just a walker but a cane. They don't have respect to the transit system. And I know MTA Police has caught a couple of them at Atlantic Terminal, but Penn and Grand Central, I have not seen anything.
Yeah, no, the signage would be across the agency, so it'd be transit as well as the railroads.
And can we make the signages a little bigger?
Yeah, I mean, there's a couple of different, thought process or avenues that we're going, as well as the digital signage is probably the best and the easiest, and we can take it up, put it down, revise it. They can flip it into different things. There's some locations, that they're not as prevalent, Long Island Railroad in particular. So there we revert back to a paper campaign a little bit more for the customer-facing piece. And then obviously we would send stuff internally to our employees, with regards to, what's acceptable or not.
Thank you.
Of course, Chris, you know they do have respect if they're at Franklin Street or Franklin Avenue stations.
It depends, Andrew.
All right, Mr. X, I think.
Riders, either ride the bicycles or leave home.
Oh, yeah.
Either ride the damn bicycle or leave it home. Don't put the beans me, don't run it over with, don't put it in my way. And it's all thick, and in other words, in a confront you about it, don't throw it thick.
All right.
Jason?
I'll say regarding e-bikes, I have seen them among those people that work for food delivery services. The last time that I saw them was along the Lexington Avenue line. I was going home on a very, very extremely crowded 4 train, and I saw not one, but 2 of them. And we should use this phrase that Washington Metro uses, that every person that boards the train should move to the center of the car. Because I have seen multiple times that everybody stands near the doors. And what will happen in the event of an emergency? That a person needs to evacuate the train. And the doors are literally blocked by, let's say, a person with a bike. Or if a person with a wheelchair or an elderly person has an emergency, there's no way that this person will evacuate a train in a matter of seconds if the train doors are blocked.
Yeah. We understand that, Jason, and that is a concern that's been raised, is, where to store these things. Go-to place for most of the stores right now, at least on the Long Island Railroad, handicapped area. So that's fine, there's no handicapped person on the train, but if someone comes in with a wheelchair and then someone's got their scooter there, that creates a problem. And that's something that we need to figure out how to address that situation when it comes up, so that the conductors and trainmen have some direction on, how they should handle that.
I have a question.
Yeah.
And Charles does this one.
Yeah.
Mr. X has one.
Are you coordinating at all with other agencies? I know the fire department has been, that the city has really been, looking at this issue a lot, and sent a letter to the feds.
Right.
And to the, asking about, the city council's holding a hearing today on the batteries, that most of it focuses on charging in place. But, also, they just spontaneously combust that they've been tampered with. But I'm sure that there's probably a collection of, enforcement agencies that are dealing with this problem and looking at solutions, and other, if not transit agencies, at least, public safety agencies.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked to some of them, we've communicated with the fire department, with the police department, with DHS with regards to it. And they all echo that the largest concern, besides the concern of a moving object and just something that can get in the way of things and slip, trip, fall type hazards, is the charging of the batteries. So with us restricting that or not allowing it, that deals with most of it, but we're making sure that they're aware of it, so that we can have an open dialogue and they know what the requirements are, or will be.
Okay, thank you. Charlton, you have a question?
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. So my question is in regard to the situation with the Long Island Railroad and the Atlantic Terminal situation with the shuttle trains. Is it okay if I bring this up now?
No, Charlton, no, this isn't the right time for this. These are questions for personal vehicle, electric vehicle policy.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay,
All
I'll
right,
come
when we
back
get down to
later.
the Long Island Railroad, we'll put you back up.
Okay, sorry about that.
All right. Do anybody else have any questions? Do you have a question, Mr. X, or follow-up question?
That's simple, Cherokee. Got all these personal, bicycles, skateboards, boards, cars, leave items on, they live in a hand truck, strollers, folders at all times. Folders for the boards and feet. Buses, elevators, escalators, and trains, this way, one gets hit with them. People hit with a stroller, they'll say, excuse me, doctor.
All right. One last, I think we got everybody? Okay, so one last item. I was talking to the safety people at the Long Island Railroad and Metro North. They already have, New York Lifesaver already has posters made up. Actually, I think they were photographed on the Long Island Railroad property or Metro North property about riding the scooters on the platforms. And when I asked them about, well, you got a relationship, can we go with those? They're waiting for policy. There's no reason to wait for policy. That's a safety issue. We should be putting those posters up right now. And then also have Grand Central, Penn Station, anywhere where somebody will be riding. One of the posters I actually think was made at Jamaica Station of someone riding a scooter. So, I mean, I don't think they need to wait for a policy to put those up. Those are just simple safety measures or safety public service announcements. So that's something we think that they should roll with right away. And then once you do have your formal policy, then you should have a robust campaign of maybe putting up posters on the trains themselves, in particular about no charging,
Right.
That sort of thing. And other than that, that concludes what we need to talk about with the personal electric vehicle policy.
Great.
All right.
Great, thanks, everybody.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate you.
Greatly appreciate
Thanks
it.
for having me.
So quickly.
Thank you.
That's Warren says he's gonna do it.
That's right. And he thought he's gonna be out after a day. I'm like, you jinxed yourself.
Yeah, oh, yeah.
You jinxed yourself. All right. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Bye-bye. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Alrighty, so, take care of some of the more mundane business. Need an approval of the agenda for today. Motion for the agenda.
Oh.
All right,
Second.
all right, so motion and a second, all in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries, we got our agenda. Did everyone get a chance to look at the December 8th meeting minutes?
No.
Jerry,
You have a copy down?
Trudy needs a copy, they didn't want to disturb anyone from the speaker.
You gave me the one that I had, not the happy. There should be copies of the one as well.
All right.
Is this what you want? Here's a copy of the.
I gave her one. You gave her one. She has
No,
it.
you gave me the December minutes.
I'll pass it over.
December or thank you.
All right, well,
I'm becoming like Chris.
all right, well, while Trudy's taking a quick look at the December 8th minutes, can we get a motion to approve the September 8th minutes, which we couldn't approve last time?
Yes, no, let me.
Because we didn't have a forum on that?
I was the one who objected, so I now approve the September 8th minutes as amended.
Okay, we have
And
Second.
And Dick Ravitch, thank you also.
We have second. Second it.
all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. All right, let Trudy look at the December 8th minutes for a little bit, so I'll go.
Can I just say something about the
Yeah.
minutes?
Sure.
So, this year, starting in 2023 with this PCAC meeting, and as each of you have seen at the individual councils, we've gone to a more synopsis style of the minutes that's reflective of the MTA board style. So, it will be more compact, and less 11 pages and more 4 pages, more streamlined. And still, our actual official minutes of the meeting are those that are online on our YouTube page and that are also posted on our website.
All righty. Just so everybody knows,
Jerry, she's ready.
Yeah.
Oh, you ready? Okay.
I move to approve the minutes. I will bring up one of the matters that's in there under old business.
okay, so December 8th meeting minutes, we have an approval. Chris, you seconding it?
So second it.
All righty. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries. All righty, so we have our minutes approved, agenda approved. Just so we know going forward, I will not be doing a PCA chairs report. I'm just gonna do the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council chairs report. I wanna leave the PCAC issues to Lisa. She's here day to day. She can more enlighten you rather than me going through some highlights, and then Lisa having to add on to it anyway. And we do have a couple of announcements to make staff-wise and whatever, so. Lisa, you just want to give us a quick update on,
Sure.
you know, like our new
Yes.
promotion that was offered to certain somebody?
Yes, it's always nice to start with good news, so it's actually official. I don't know if it's official. Okay, so hopefully by the end of the day, it'll be actually official. Kara was officially offered the position by the MTA to, wrote the position for the research and advocacy, PCAC's research and advocacy manager.
Whole title?
It's of the work that she has done over the last year, so we're thrilled that she's going to accept it. Hopefully.
No, she's gonna get it.
For some of you who have not yet met Liam, who is our new associate director.
Hello.
Liam started on the day of our last PCAC meeting, so he came in right as we were ending, and he's been at most, if not all, of the council meetings. So we welcome Liam, who brings with him not just a great knowledge of the transit and transportation system, but a great love of regional rail and all things related to things with wheels. That improves air quality, equity, and reduce
And
congestion.
accessibility as well.
And
I
accessibility.
mean, like the aforementioned e-bikes we were just,
Well,
they have wheels.
Not as much of a
and,
person.
we, are now, should be in a position to post our vacancy. Yes.
Yeah, we have to. One inconvenience about Kara taking that position is now we have to vacate, we have to backfill her vacated position.
We're joined by Ryan, who is somewhere on our screen. Ryan is now in the upper right of our Brady Bunch corner.
Okay.
Ryan. Ryan is our intern. Eschel remains our intern. Ryan is our intern for the semester. He's a Hunter student who's working with Liam on, regional rail, fare policy, or rationalizing fare policy. Might take them longer than it should have. But that's something we think is, much needed, and we welcome Ryan, and, he's been a terrific help and has shared with us some of his experiences and, endeavors, since he's been with us. Thank you.
Okay, anything else?
That's our staff.
Okay, Ben has a question?
Can I just?
No, that's just,
Oh,
this is my hand.
yes,
I want
Ruth.
to add something. I'm on the advisory board about Roosevelt House at Hunter, and Brian comes very highly recommended. It's a contact at the school level, and so I think we are very fortunate that we have acquired him, even if it's just for a semester.
We may never give him back.
Please don't. If I have anything to say about it, I won't, and I've already told my colleagues over there. But I just wanted to add that in because he deals so much in public policy, and he is equipped to help us in that area especially.
Masterful photographers.
Jerry?
Thank you.
Yeah, I just want to add, because Cara getting promoted, and William here, I do want to thank William on something also.
Liam.
Got it.
William.
Spell palsy, you got it?
It's okay.
Got it?
Yeah.
I'm lucky I could say Lisa. It goes right into
I
the tongue.
understand. Okay.
The main thing is, he did attend the Accessorite, and for the last almost 48 hours, I have this big compliment, this big, how you spoke.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, I have people that I hardly speak to, said, who is this young, handsome man?
Don't, with the shit.
No, but also I want to congratulate Cara, her position, and thank you, Andrew. All I'm gonna say is guys, live on, live prosper.
Live long and prosper.
That's right.
Your
Great.
contract, correct.
Jason?
I want to say something since that March is Women's History Month. I want to appreciate the hard work that Lisa, Kara, Trudy, and Deborah have been doing for a long time. And your hard work is way appreciated by advocates like yours truly. As you guys know, I start journalism in LaGuardia 5 days from today, and your kind words towards yours truly is way appreciated, and you guys have my support 100%. Like I mentioned earlier on Twitter, I'm here for the long haul because we need women in this industry of transportation.
Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jason. All right.
So perhaps we'll make you an honorary member of WTS. For those of you who don't know, Women's Transportation Seminar was started when we had, I was the first woman to be the director of a department, and it's not that long ago, so, but now we have chapters all over the country, and but New York started WTS, and so, and if any of you don't know about it, I'd be happy to give you information, because it really, it's still, we've come a long way, baby, but we still have a long way to go. Thank you, Shirley.
Thanks. All righty, so the PCAC report being done, we'll move down to the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council's report. As everyone is already aware, the big news for the Long Island Railroad is the opening of Grand Central Madison. Starting with shuttle service to and from Jamaica, full service began this past Monday after a grand opening ceremony held on Sunday, which brought together a who's who of everyone who's been involved with the East Side Access Project, including former Long Island Railroad presidents and MTA chairmen. Speakers included Governor Hochul, Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, MTA Chairman John Lieber, and Long Island Railroad Metro North President Kathy Rinaldi, amongst others. And I want to take a moment to thank the PCAC staff for taking time out of their busy weekend to attend. Thank you.
Our pleasure.
Liam, Kara, and Jessica was there as well. Yep. Okay. With the opening of Grand Central Madison came the first major Long Island Railroad schedule change in literally decades. Total service has increased by approximately 41%, but there's still considerable controversy regarding the new schedules, which has Atlantic Avenue services primarily a shuttle, 12 minutes peak, 20 minutes off peak, and a considerably less service to Penn Station. While it is hopeful that commuters will adjust to the new schedule after a couple of weeks, the Long Island Railroad has assured us that they will be monitoring new traveling patterns of our riders and will make some adjustments where necessary if practical. However, given the numerous reports of overcrowding, despite fewer riders than pre-pandemic levels and with an increase in service, and continuing concerns and complaints about changing trains, eliminated trains, and unreasonable transfers being raised by commuters, we have issued a press release asking the Long Island Railroad to move quickly to add cars to Consus and to adjust schedules to address the most egregious problems. And in closing, while the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council satellite office in Mineola is not yet ready for occupancy, Nassau County is working with us and has given us access to a conference room so that we can hold our monthly meetings there. This is of critical importance as it makes it easier for our membership to attend in person as required by the open meetings law, as the COVID suspensions allowing for remote participation has now ended. And that's basically it for the Long Island Railroad issues.
The statement is available on our website on PCAC.org.
Yes. All right. Or we might even have a couple of copies available here if someone needs to.
I got no money.
Yes, correct.
Does that ceremony that was held on Sunday, as far as I know, I knew nothing about it, as far as I know, I received an email letter regarding it.
It was invitation only. It was just for dignitaries. It wasn't open to the general public. Alrighty,
Jerry,
yes.
do you think these scheduling changes can be remedied relatively easy? Because there is such opposition to overcrowding.
It's not going to be as easy as people think. I've had some conversations, with the railroad. As you know, it's one train affects another train. It's like a domino effect, and they have to choreograph. 10 of our 11 branches go through Jamaica, and we got everything going through, Harold interlocking. And when you get to Harold, then you got to deal with Amtrak, and then you got Jersey Transit moving trains, in and out, because they have the storage yard, the Sunnyside Yard. So that's, it's not simple math, in a train. It's like I said, it's a choreography that has to be done. So I don't think they will be able to make some changes, but I don't think they're going to make wholesale changes. And it's going to be very interesting how they handle it, to be perfectly honest with you.
The consist thing can be remedied if they have more people and they have more cars. I don't know if they have enough cars.
Well, that's the immediate concern that we had. In fact, I met with the press earlier after they had a press conference this morning, and that was the biggest thing that I said is that that's something we need to move on immediately for safety reasons. And, we have 2/3 of the pre-pandemic ridership and 40% increase in service. There's no reason to have crowded trains anywhere. It defies logic. So that's something that they're definitely going to have to address. Okay. Chris?
One thing, just to let you know, Jerry, I've been the last couple of days at Atlantic Terminal. In those days, I've seen ambassadors, I've seen staff there, and the one thing that what I'm seeing is customers who are getting off the train, who are going to the 2 and 3 or the 4 and 5 or the B and Q, are saying, what a difference, instead of waiting 30 minutes or 40 or an hour for a train, because a lot of them want to just go to Jamaica, because either way, they're going to have to switch to a diesel turf line train or the other branches. But the thing is what I'm seeing with the customers are, sorry, I'm trying to turn my head around. The only thing that what I'm seeing is I just think, Jerry, I think we just need to increase the Long Island Cares advertisement levels on the screens a little more to encourage them, to let them know, like a person who is senior, who cannot have trouble getting on or off the train, needs to know, or announcement saying, if you need assistance, please call the Long Island Cares before you go on the Long Island Railroad. I hear Metro North is doing that. I thank them, so I'm going to make sure Randy heard me saying that. But I just think due to all these new changes, if we can just boost it up like another 10%.
Yeah, and a big concern that we've been hearing from riders is because of the shuttle service running, 12 minutes 20 minutes, whatever, is, and there's no timed connections. People are running up and over, and that's a concern. And, you know, I did mention it, perhaps they need to add to the shuttle service during the peak hours, so that we don't have people run, because people run because if they miss their train, then they know it's 12 minutes to the next one, you know, and it shoots their commute.
And maybe we should encourage them to, this would be a good time to encourage them to, if someone who uses a cell phone, look at the app so they can study their timetable adjustments. Because I have been doing that for the last couple of weeks, and I have to tell you, 2 or 3 people I know who go to the Bernard Fine Center to Queens Village, they're actually enjoying one thing. Instead of running to a train, they're actually giving themselves 10 minutes to breathe. No, because some of them, you don't want them to run to get hurt. I'm talking about safety. So I'm just letting Bert, no, it is funny, Bert, too.
No, I don't run it.
I know, but it's also giving them an option, because if say something goes wrong with that line, they can also take a bus to the Bernard Fine Center. So it's an option, they know what to do. I've been trying to encourage that. Right. Thank you, Jerry.
Gentleman in the blue?
David Cuthbert. How's the schedule look at Cannonball?
What's that?
That goes to Cannonball, that runs Memorial Day weekend and Labor Day weekend.
They haven't posted the summer schedule yet, so we don't know.
You don't know how this affects it?
No, they haven't posted the summer schedule.
They said
will
it's gonna continue though.
But it should, I mean, there's no reason why that shouldn't continue. Jason?
Mentioning, regarding this, Jerry, I saw a person posting a TikTok video regarding a passenger that wanted to go from Grand Central Madison to JFK Airport. Long Island Railroad ambassador told her that if she needed to go to JFK Airport, that she needed to go to Penn Station to get to the airport. So, and we're talking about something around 5 o'clock in the morning. So I had to literally do a screen recording on my phone and using the Train Time app, telling her the options regarding arriving, in other words, going from Grand Central Madison to the airport. And also, Jerry, we should mention also that the off-peak fare continues to be in the Train Time app, in addition to the city tickets if you are traveling within the city limits. And that confuses people. Let's say if I'm going from either from Penn Station to Jamaica or from Grand Central Madison to Jamaica, you could see either the normal off-peak fare that's $7.75 and the city ticket option that is $5. That confuses people.
We're working on that in the fare report.
Ma'am?
Raise that.
Ma'am? You have a question?
Oh, yeah. No, I have a couple of points. So one of them is, there's a bait and switch element to the expansion that I have mentioned before. We were told that there would be additional service to the city, not being told that at the expense of reduced service to Penn Station. So that's one. And we're now seeing that play out in Southeast Queens, at least, after 10 o'clock in the morning until around 3 o'clock, get a train that's only going to Grand Central. When the schedule was proposed, it was showing that we would have more frequent service, and then the proposed schedule, they had a train coming about every 30 minutes and alternating between Grand Central and Penn. In the reality, it's every hour. So now people are up in arms, and I'm hearing every day on the train, at the station, as we come through, and I think that's problematic. I think that there should have been more transparency and honesty that, yes, there's a new station, but that we have to reduce the amount of service at Penn Station. And I think it's problematic that people who are used to one-train rides, especially people who have varying levels of mobility, just getting up to Lawton, Rosedale, or Locust Manor is a feat in itself, and then to have to get off at Jamaica, and then the train you may have to go up additional stairs is also problematic.
If you could put that in an email to Lisa, because we're compiling.
Yeah, I am.
Complaints from ridership.
And the third thing that I will say is, with now the change and there may be longer waits for the train to Brooklyn as I've experienced. And you mentioned this on Tuesday, Andrew. There needs to be an expansion of, Freedom Fair. Tickets, people need to have choices. If I have to wait, my commute now, that used to be like, say, 35, maybe 37 minutes at most, can be 44 to 51 minutes, depending on the time of day, all because of waiting for the Atlantic, terminal train.
Okay. All right, sorry, Mr. X, you already had a question, and we gotta move on to keep our schedule.
Ron has a quick one.
What's that?
Ron has a quick one.
Ron has,
Yeah,
okay,
it's
Ron
in
didn't ask the question yet, okay,
It's
Ron?
in the chat. It's in the 40% versus pandemic lows in terms of increased service, and does Long Island Railroad have spare cars to increase train length? The answer to the second part, Ron, is not really.
I couldn't hear your answer to the first part, sorry.
The 40% increase, I believe, is based on the existing schedule from last week.
Yes. And
So-
does it have enough train cars? Not really.
No, they're probably gonna have to reconfigure some of the consists.
Yeah.
Do they have any idea of when they'll get more of the M9s?
When does the next order of the M9 come?
We have no idea yet.
There are 10 sets in the yard right now.
They're trickling in, but you know, how quick they can put them into service, we don't know.
Yeah, no, I understand.
We'll ask, when we have our next, Long Island Railroad Commuter Council's meeting, we'll ask to get an update on that.
Fair enough. I mean, I know you get complaints about short cars until they have more capacity. And there's not much you can do about it, other than make little adjustments here and there.
No, they gotta leave that to them to figure it out somehow.
Yeah.
Okay. Ron, I'm gonna move on. Carlton, you have a question? Carlton?
Yes, I have a question. Thank you. So my question, I actually have 3 points I wanted to make, if that's okay. So the first point I wanted to raise is, why is it that the M3 cars are running from Jamaica to Atlantic Terminal? It's bad enough people have to walk from platform 11, from platforms 1 and 2 all the way to 11, 12. And the other day, one of the M3 cars broke down between East New York and Nostrand. Just wanted to let you guys know about that. That's point number 1. And then point number 2 is, why is it that some Grand Central trains cannot be canceled or just re-switched to Penn Station? To me, that would be the most comical solution to deal with the overcrowding issues. And then the third point is, we have a petition going around for the Greenport branch. That train can actually be extended later, and it would not affect the Long Island Railroad. This is the Greenport train, the last one that leaves Ronkonkoma in the evening. It would not really affect LIR operations. The train would just have to be leaving about maybe 15 minutes later or something like that. We have a petition on that. That's all I'm going to say. I had other comments, but I was told to keep it professional and civilized, so that's what I'm doing.
Very good. Alrighty, that should conclude the Long Island Railroad portion of it. Next up would be you.
Okay, thank you. I'm gonna give a concise version of the Transit Riders Council report, because we have a lot to cover today. On-time performance continues to improve in the subways. It's a very impressive 85%. Unfortunately, just yesterday, I saw a message that said we're running as much service as we can with the crews we have available. I thought that was a thing of the past, but obviously that was on the A train yesterday, so they're still doing that. So that's going to affect on-time performance, obviously.
4, 5, and 6.
Yeah. So that wasn't good to see that. Lots more stations are being made accessible. We had a great presentation on that at our committee meeting, and accessibility is definitely continuing, and that's great for everybody. So look for a lot of stations in all boroughs, including the Staten Island Railway, are getting made accessible. So that's great. We also had a rather extensive discussion of the budget and the various things that are being proposed to close the MTA's fiscal cliff, which gets worse as you get closer to 2026 and 2025. And it relies on some assumptions, and one of those assumptions was money from casinos. And somebody who has a great deal of knowledge in that area, because she has great contacts that I don't have, let me just toss it to Trudy to give you an update on that casino revenue issue.
Okay, I have knowledge, but I am not a gambler, so let's make this clear. I have no knowledge of, I'll make it very, very brief. Basically, it can't happen. The legislate, or unless everybody up in Albany decides that they all love each other and they're all gonna join hands and sing Kumbaya, which ain't happening, and it's not even happening. I speak as a Democrat, some of my people, and you all know what went on with getting, well, it hasn't. They turned down LaSalle with the Court of Appeals, and now that whole process starts again, and that wasn't pretty either. But basically, the legislation setting up, and they call it gaming now, that's the new operative word, gaming. And there are two parts of it. First of all, there was part of the money that was supposed to come to us was the fees that all the people, and the fee is quite something. Just to apply for a casino, it's $500 million per application. That sounds like a lot, but not when you think of all the money that's involved. And that is not going to happen for a while. Basically, nothing that was talked about to do with gaming can possibly happen at the earliest, if everything goes correct, until 2026. I was told this by one of my sources, and Andrew and I agree, we both have sources, but that we would not compare notes, or since these sources are all confidential. But he's hearing the same thing that I have, and that's what we reported on at length at the TRC meeting. But the other part of it is that in the legislation setting up gaming, setting up the fact you could have casinos, it was made very clear in that legislation that all of the proceeds, or once the money came through and started coming through, which again is at the earliest 2026, but that it would all go to education. And so that in order for us, in order for the MTA to get any of that money, there would have to be new legislation, not the budget legislation, which is going to be, passed and must be passed by April. April 1st or April 30th?
April 1st.
April 1st. But we're talking about new legislation that will undo the thing that all the money goes for casinos, for education, and that then separate legislation that says that whatever portion of the proceeds, once the casinos start making money, would go to the MTA. That could take forever and ever, but it's certainly not anything, and I've been told this by enough people that who are even more knowledgeable than I am, that it will, a lot more knowledgeable than I am on this area, but that it could not have any effect on the budgets that were, even the out years, forget about this year, but even 2025 or even going beyond 2026. So I just wanted to bring you all up to date on, and Andrew spoke about this at the board meeting. Am I correct? Yeah, and I think he has spoken to some of the involved individuals, as have I, just to be clear, because neither of us, I don't think, wants to press the panic button, but at the same time, these are the facts of life as they exist right now, and we both felt that you should know about it as we can fair raise and costs and everything else.
All right, thanks, Trudy. Is there anything else you want to hit on?
No, I'm ready to move.
Okay, before we take any questions, on Andrew's report, it's 1 o'clock, and I know Mr. Cole is on a tight schedule, so we'd like to get him, going. Oh, Kevin, I'm sorry.
Right behind us.
Come on up.
Yeah, so come on up, Kevin. We'll get you going.
Should I stand, should I sit? I don't know.
Whatever you're more comfortable with.
Stand there because we've lost the camera.
Okay,
Whatever you prefer.
Yeah, there you go.
great, I will stand.
Okay.
Uh,
We're gonna load your presentation. You can either say next slide, or we can give you a quickie thing, and then we're gonna move. Oh, I do know.
Great. Hey, everyone. So I'm Kevin Call. I head up the Service Communications Division at the MTA in the Office of the Customer. So this includes the Digital Communications Unit, Transit, the Long Island Railroad Service Information Office, the Metro North Service Information Office, the Service Information Group in Customer, and the Planned Service Change Team. For the last year, I've been involved in this little side project, a passion project, if you will, to replace and upgrade the MyMTA alert systems. Anyone here get the text or email alerts from us? Okay, so hopefully you know our pain, and you're ready for something that's a little bit better.
Bring it on.
Great. So, I'm going to go to the next slide. Yes, this is MyMTA Alerts. It was launched in 2007 or 2008 after a very bad rainstorm, which riders were left stranded without information about how to get around. Great system for the time, but a lot of time has passed in 15 years, and we now have many more types of digital tools that people can use to get information about the system. So the next slide here. You're aware, right? We have a dynamic status box on the website, which we didn't have quite so back then. You know, we have our various apps and digital screens. We have platform countdown clocks, but what still is unique about MyMTA Alerts is it is the only system that reaches out and finds you and tells you that services are running differently than you might expect. That is until the apps get push alerts, which I think are coming soon. But until then, this is still the best way. And one of my missions is to eliminate surprises for our customers, right? You should know how services are running before you leave your house, before you go downstairs and find, a platform roped off. So we're, working on this in lots of capacities. Next slide. If you are a subscriber of MyMTA Alerts, it can be overwhelming. You get a deluge of alerts and updates when something goes wrong. There was a Babylon branch disruption about a year ago where I counted in one window 19 emails you got from us about this disruption, and I don't know how anyone is supposed to make sense of all of that noise. It was a very confusing process. So working on both, can we come up with, business solutions to help cut down on the noise and get information you need, but also can we make content decisions that also help make things easier for customers to navigate. I'm going to go to the next slide. So, MTA Service Alerts is the new product. We are ready to launch this, and I hope as soon as next week we're going to have a sort of friends and family beta test, and I would love all of you to sign up for this new tool, give us feedback about how this is going, and then later in March we will do the cutover from the old system to the new system, and I want to tell you a bit about the new system. So it's version 1.0, and this is one thing that is exciting to me about this is unlike MyMTA Alerts where we really couldn't change it, this new system is Salesforce Marketing Cloud based, a very powerful industrial scale email tool is also very flexible. So at any time we can go and say, this logic isn't working, and we can make tweaks as we need to make sure the tool is performing for customers. We could not do that before. And some of the principles of this, one more thing should appear here, right. So, right, the mission here is to give customers the information they need when they need it, and nothing else, meaning there's sometimes a habit here in this organization to overwhelm you with information. And then you have this wall of text that one must read through to decipher. That's not a good experience, right? It's about that balance of targeting what you need to know for your ride. One of the mobile-first accessible designs. My MTA Alerts was not mobile responsive at all. Everything here is mobile-first, works great on a phone, works great on a tablet or a computer screen. And wanted to make reduce the friction it takes for customers to manage and update their alerts. The way to get into the MyMTA Alerts account is very difficult. This is very easy. You can do it with no password and a few clicks. It's very nice. So we wanted to change two basic things in this first version. One is to allow customers to sign up for shorter windows. The old system recommended these like mega 4-hour blocks because of this one big flaw in the old system. Say you want to get our alerts at 8 o'clock, and at 7:50, a train breaks an emergency, and we send out an alert. You are not notified of that. So you think at 8 o'clock everything's fine, when in fact there's no train service, right? So to overcome that, the idea was sign up for these huge blocks of time so that you get everything in that, but also that's how you get that fire hose. So the new system, the next slide, if you're signed up for 8 o'clock alerts, and we set something up at 7:55, at 8 o'clock, you will be notified that service is running differently than you otherwise expect. That allows for you to have a smaller window than you were before, which I think is a big improvement. Next slide. And specifically for the subway, this logic doesn't work with the railroads, but for the subway, once we have told you about an incident, we're not going to tell you again about it unless it got better or worse, right? The system did its job by saying trains are delayed. Now, my teams in the Rail Control Center are listening to the radio. They hear a train is delayed. Then a train is delayed, why? Then here's the alternate service pattern. And so, the old system would keep spitting out updates. Every time we changed a comma, it would send a new email, which is not a good experience, right? So the new one, you won't hear from us again unless it gets better or worse. That should cut down a lot of the noise and chaos of the old system. There are some people that I'm sure want to get every single update. And these folks are probably not going to like that we're cutting that down a little bit, but most folks told us the reason why they didn't like the current system and why they unsubscribed was it was overwhelming. So we're trying to strike that balance of what exactly do you need to know without overwhelming you. The railroads, this is not going to work exactly because, if that first train is delayed, we might go back again and say that train is canceled, and that logic would prevent us from getting that cancellation message. So the railroads, I think, need a different solution for this. I really want to get towards train-specific railroad updates because on the railroads, you don't care about the Babylon branch. You care about your Babylon train, right? And if you use alerts right now, you get alerts about everything happening on the line, which doesn't really pertain to you. Anyway, subway and rail customers are different here. Go to the next slide. So we talked about this. You only sort of get actionable alerts here. So here's two alerts I got back to back within minutes of each other as we sort of updated the message. But if you got this first message, you already knew that J trains were delayed. Knowing that J trains are delayed and EMS is helping a customer is not relevant to you. We already told you, right? And this second email is just noise in your inbox. I'm going to go to the next. So those are the two big fixes. And I said this is version 1. We now can continually iterate and have the resources to build on this and make this product better. But at least those two fixes, I think, are rather significant from what the old system left us with. So the design changes here. Salesforce allows us to send modern HTML emails, not just sort of these plain text messages. Although if you want plain text, the system will send that to you if you want that. Like including full color bullets. I think it helps me navigate a wall of text to make sure I'm looking at the right message. We also have these chat icons down here. We'll see if people like these and respond to them, but, this one opens up WhatsApp. If you, on a phone, it will deep link WhatsApp and you can chat with customer service about what you're seeing here, which is a nice feature. The next, okay, so, and for SMS, the old system, since is sort of difficult to understand SMS messages that were buried behind a link. We also didn't have a branded, white-labeled SMS shortcode of our own. It came from different numbers, different times, and so it kind of looked spammy. The carriers thought they were spam sometimes, and so a lot of our SMSs never went through, period. The new system comes from a nationally whitelisted shortcode that we own and only we own, 511682, 511MTA. And we use the full service alert headline in the message itself. For those of you that use sort of Siri to read messages, Siri can read these. And so I've had my headphones in, and Siri tells me about the train delay as I am walking, and I don't even look at my phone, which is kind of a nice feature here. I'm sorry? Oh, I meant to, sorry, this was a test. I wanted to see what the full character limit was here, but I should have put a real example here. This was a test. But yeah, that's what a full 160 character message looks like in the footer. I'm going to go to the next slide. So the system is also the basis which we use to send out the Weekender. I don't know if you all familiar with the Weekender. This is the first thing to come out of Salesforce Marketing Cloud, and Alerts is the rest of the package behind it. So it allows us to also expand on this, produce future, beautiful, dynamic, customer-friendly newsletters, and the Weekender is just the first of what I hope of, many. Let me go to the next. And this is the Subscription Preference Center. We borrowed a little bit of the status box design from the MTA website. And here I thought I would be driving, but if you want, you could click that. And this will open up my preference center. Here's my personal information. You go to Alert. Here. You can create an alert. Give it a name, say like test 2 or something. Let's see, I want E-Train updates between 8 and 9 a.m. on Tuesdays. Yeah, great. Scroll down. Next. 8 to 9. Great. Tuesday. Done. That's how easy it is to create an alert. If you ever tried to adjust your settings in my MTA, you had to dig up a password. It was difficult. Now, I want that to be easier. That's still more difficult than it should be, but we'll keep working on making, reducing the friction in that process. So from the same preference center, you can also subscribe some newsletters here. That tab. The Weekenders in here. There's going to be an MTA away newsletter migrating in here, and hopefully, this list keeps on growing as we build out this feature here. So that is the product. Let's see. What everyone should know who is a current subscriber is we're going to announce the start of this cutover. And here's where it gets a little bit tricky. I wish I could just take everyone that was in the old system and bring them over. I can't do that because of the way they encrypted the old system. But also, it's 15 years old. People have moved to Florida. People have stopped commuting or other things. There's a lot of bad data that it's just good for us to do a cleanse. And so we're going to send out many messages to everyone on the old system saying, you have 2 weeks, create this new account, and then on such and such date, the old system will go away and the new system becomes active. I wish that was an easier process here, but it is sort of necessary to have a clean break from the old system in this way.
Can we do an alert on Rivera?
Sure.
Thank you, Lisa.
Oh, yes, which reminds me of this first. what's the branch we want to see?
Montauk.
Montauk.
Montauk, thank you, Jerry. All right, before AM.
No.
You know I'm just.
30 AM.
Thank you.
That's a good one.
And for Randy, I can feel this question coming. The old system did not include West of Hudson for real time, but does for planned. And in this case, we are following that for planned work. Actually, if you scroll down, there's one more type of thing you can afford. It's the planned work digest. You can see, by the way, all of my alerts I'm tracking here. Planned service changes. So if you want to get a heads up about work we are doing, you can sign up for this, in which case, the way this works is you get a digest of the following 7 days or week, depending on, 7 days or weekend. You have two options here, and you get everything in your inbox. Sort of like the weekender does these sort of high-level, super impactful system-wide changes, but if you want to know everything, every time we do a boarding change in the middle of the night on the L train that matters to you, you can get this in your inbox every Friday.
There was a message in the chat. That's good for Staten Island Railroad too, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all right.
Yeah, so Kathy, it's good for Staten Island Railroad. All right.
So how do you want, people to, let you know they want to be your testing group?
I was gonna say that.
I can send a link out to, if there's a way I can get to you, and basically there's a form, first, last email, and then I will send you a way in, and yes, I would love to let you all in, get feedback. Yeah.
Evan,
How are you supposed to participate in this new program if you don't have the device? What the hell are you supposed to do if you don't have the device?
Well, then you can't. Right, in which case, I mean, if you don't have a device, I guess the mta.info/alerts page still does work for you, in which case, if you can go to a publicly available computer, you'd be able to go and look at service changes. Yeah. Yeah.
One thing I'm gonna add, as an active member with Carmel Q, it would be nice to see you, bring this up to Q, because it's a lot of accessibility who are on those committees, which I am. It would be nice that we can also test as well, because there are different types of disabilities that use the phone or communicate them as well. So I think this would be a good way for all of us, not, Long Island Rep Metro North and ACTA, as well as the ADA Task Force, all testing it in different ways.
Great.
So I understand your technology, because I am a member of the technology committee with ACTA, and continuing doing this is to make it more accessible, friendlier. Because right now we got to deal with the AAR app right now, which is in Galant right now, and I'm saying that in a Jewish way. We just need to make sure when you do the switch, can you please make sure that it's ADA friendlier? Because I saw accessibility up there.
Yep.
But as a reminder, when you do those kinks, make sure that it's ADA easier access for them to know how to do it. And one thing, when you do your alerts, and I'm doing an Andrew Albert moment here, and I'm saying his name for a reason, why do you have the H train still on the alerts, which the H train does not exist anymore? When the that's all, 1 second. When it says due to the bridge channel up, it says A train and H train, and I'm like, since when the H came back again? And it's been saying that on the alert, and I have put this in, I have not heard anything.
This challenge we're having too, because H and K actually appear in our GTS Fest data, so we're telling our system to take an H and translate that back as an A. Yeah, that's probably a data issue from the data source, but yeah, it's something we're working on too, actually, actively.
So we have a question here, and I see Jason and Andrew have questions. Why can't the RCC tell us what the estimated travel time between express stations during track work or work crews on tracks. Can the RCC tell us what the estimated travel time is between express stations during track work or work crews on
Yeah,
tracks?
usually slow orders, that's why.
Norm, did I get that right?
Yes, Lisa, thank you.
You know, we're trying to get more active as the DCU in putting up, when we anticipate this or seeing it, putting in slow speed notifications in the status box and out to our various channels. But that's a good question, how we get
There
a
are
little more
slow
granular.
speed notifications. I've seen them on many apps, you know,
Yeah.
such and such is running at slow speed due to CBTC installation or track work or whatever. So it is out there.
Yeah,
Randy does still have another question.
sure.
Hi, so these are two quick ones. When is this supposed to, you're planning for this to go in service? And the second question is, people who already signed up for them, are they gonna just be told that you're not gonna get alerts yet for a certain period of time and you have to sign up for the new one? Thank you.
Yes, so the launch date will depend on what we hear back in this test. If you all test and we hear there's something that is seriously wrong, we'll put this off for a bit and do those fixes. If it's something seriously wrong, then we'll proceed with hopefully around the 16th of the 20th as the period when we notify existing subscribers that they need to set this up before MyMTA goes away. That'll be about a 10-day to 2-week period. And we'll do both, you know, alert messages in every time period we could think of, but also I think in the footer of each alert, I will include language that says something like, you know, my MTA alert is shutting down on such and such date. Please sign up for MTA service alerts with a link and how to do that. But want to make sure we cover as much ground as possible so people are not left or surprised by this change. Sorry,
I'm signed up for Metro North Alert, so if you want to put me into the program to get these new ones, I'll be happy to participate. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Kevin, thank you for being with us today. Since I use the MyMTA app on a daily basis, one feature that I would love to see is in-app notifications. That's one thing that I would love to see, because even though I'm subscribed to the email notification, and even though that I'm constantly checking my emails for any planned or unplanned service changes, but when on the go, I check the MyMTA app, but I would love to receive in-app notifications. And since I have my AirPods, like the third generation AirPods, I could listen to them when I'm on the go, and it tells me on audio all the notifications.
So it's a great question and point. There's a team that is actively working on an overhaul to the MyMTA app, and it will launch with push notifications, and we should absolutely see about in-app nudges at various times, and I love that idea to make sure that the notifications, you know, if you have a Siri or whatever the Google equivalent is enabled phone that it reads to you, would be really good here. Hi.
I have a very simple question. I gave up ICA because it took more time that I would waste and be even later for a train or a bus or whatever. How many but when I did look at it, it will only be in English. How many languages? We have, the last I heard, there are 120 different languages, just in Queens. So, and probably even some others, but a lot. And how many, all I could find at all was English.
With the MyMTA app, with the MyMTA alert?
Well, this new thing that you're putting together, how many languages are you putting on that together?
So it's launching with English as a default, but that's absolutely something that we need to work on for subsequent versions.
May I suggest that for the populace that you're dealing with, that there are at least 3 or 4 languages that you must have on there to make it useful for people who live in New York. I mean, to just do it in English is almost a negative.
I appreciate that, and yeah, it's one reason why we were so eager in expanding WhatsApp as a customer service tool, because we offer upwards of 20 languages that we can assist with. But yes, I agree with you.
But you're putting this together with no consideration of any other language besides English, right? This new thing, whatever it's called.
This is a launch version. We will continue to iterate and build out additional ways of supporting larger groups of New Yorkers. But yeah, I hear that.
Ma'am, you have a question?
Karen, it's okay. I was gonna say, I know we focus mostly on the app, and so my question is the app, but it's also to like the other modes of service alerts, but, is there any like geolocation, so that as you get closer to something, it will tell you alerts for like if you walk by the F train or if the bus, as it moves along, what alerts? Is it system-wide or is it based on where it is at any given point in time, the closest transfers as well as stations?
So it's something we're thinking about too, but also say for like, for example, the A train, it's 30 miles long, and if there's a problem out in Far Rockaway, it's not necessarily affecting you in Inwood. I think the limitation we have right now is our data doesn't have that nuance yet, but it's something we are looking at, because you're absolutely right. We should be able to do geolocated alerts and features, and offer some more nuance in our service messaging. We're exploring this question with Salesforce actually, like what can we do to geofence around stations if people want to opt into that sort of thing. But yeah, we're thinking about that question too.
Karen, and then that gentleman in the back.
I'm almost embarrassed about this, and it's just a matter of wording. But it will often say for instance, N train is running on the F line. So I think, I don't know about lines, I just know about my stuff.
Right.
So I assume that I can get on my N, and the train is running on a different track, but I'm still got the same stop. So I wondered if you could somehow alert it to say, the N line is diverted to F line stops from such and such. Do you understand what I mean? Does anybody?
Yes, I do, Karen.
Because
They're hurting on the F line.
Yeah, but say diverted to F line stops, so you know you're not going to get the N line stops, you're going to get the F line stops.
Yeah.
And it's just a nuance, but it's often confusing.
On the lines, you don't get it that it's on a set of tracks?
Yeah, you don't know about tracks, you think, okay, we're on a different track, I don't care, I'm still going
Pretty
to get
logical
on.
to me, but okay.
Yeah, no.
One thing that might be helpful is, and you didn't get this in the older system, but the new system in email will not just give you the headline, which appears in lots of places, Google, et cetera, but also the full details. It includes the reroutes, if necessary. It will include links to maps, and you'll sort of get the full package of information, which should help somewhat. But yeah, I have to think about that question, how we make that easier for folks to understand. Thank you.
Yeah, okay. Gentleman in the back.
Question. I'm very involved also, like Chris, accessibility. Elevators, are the elevators going to be into this system and everything, so we know where, which station the elevator is, and how, and, that's basically what I want to know.
So we're cutting over real-time service alerts and planned work alerts first. And then we're going to do elevators and bridges and tunnels. And we're working on, I think, a way to make the elevator notification system, I think, a better experience also. With Salesforce, we've been able to figure out a way to basically create digests. Because right now, if you sign up for elevator alerts, you basically get, they're sort of nonstop. It's in service, out of service. And like, how do you make sense of that information is, I think, a bit difficult, and we're looking at, like, can we create a digest, right?
Also, is it going to be able to be live bed, like, in real time.
So,
Because I know that they're supposed to be putting the, elevators and everything into, some type of system, a reporting system, automatic reporting system. And, this will be conglomerated.
One of these things is, email is not live, right? The email is accurate at the time it was sent to you, but I don't know how long it took to get to you. I don't know what time you opened it. And so email is good at producing snapshots that say, hey, something is different and you should go and look at this sort of thing. Email is really good at doing that. And, we're thinking about how to merge the best of that, but also something that says you might want to go to the status page to get the most real time, because email can't really do that.
I understand. I'm just saying, because you're talking, push technology and stuff of that nature, where it's becoming more live.
Right.
In that regard, this is, and people with disabilities need to know these things, like when elevator goes down somewhere, it can soon, when they're, actually in the elevators, right? It gives people the chance to reroute on a dime as much as it can die in a second. We need to be able to reroute it.
We're actively thinking about how to make that experience better and more timely. So, yeah, I hear you.
So, Jared, you have two more questions, and we're really out of time.
all right, we can only answer one question. If anyone's already had a question, we're gonna have to move on to the next.
If you have questions, you can always send them to us, and we can.
Yeah, so if, please just email us any questions that you would have, and then we'll.
I only have one word to say, and this is to help him out. The new MTA accessibility for elevators are linked onto the elevator, and I know Q mentioned it at TRC. That's all.
Thank you.
Okay. Alrighty, so again, any questions, please send them to Lisa Staglian, and we'll forward them on.
Any questions that you have, Kevin.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We're looking forward, Kevin, and, I think you've got a bunch of people who will be signing up.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alrighty, again, any questions, send them to Lisa, and we'll forward them on. Just quickly, before we move on to Kara, does anyone have any quick questions for
Andrew, yes.
Andrew on the, all right, go ahead.
Just to add one thing, we have the new customer center now open. I know, Jason mentioned yesterday on Tuesday, also the adding other stations, but just to let everyone know that I did attend the first opening of Coney Island Hill Avenue. That was a really big one, and and I'm just moving this over, 1 second. Dave, you gotta be careful with the recording, so they can hear. You gotta be really careful. We do have these information out here that customer centers and booths are starting to give these out, so anyone needs more information about Omni, please do so on that. And thank you.
All right.
To back, Chris's point, they opened, three new ones the other day at, Flushing Main Street on the 7th. At, 34th Street, Penn Station on the 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
St. George.
And at St. George in Staten Island.
Okay. So noted. Moving on, we go to the Metro North Commuter Council. Randy, you have something you want to?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, so there's really thankfully not much to add. Everything's been nice and quiet. I would like to give you a report on ridership. Unfortunately, the link that I had where it provided the ridership for the subways and the buses and Metro North and the Accessor ride along our railroad, it's all been changed. So I'm going to make a big case out of it when I get back up to the city, when I get back to New York at the end of the month. So it's very difficult to see the exact day-to-day ridership. I don't know why they changed it. I think it's very important that it's still there, but I can't tell you how ridership is doing. But if there's any questions on Metro North, I'm happy to take them.
Any quick questions for Randy?
It can be slow. They'll be slow. I'll give him a quick answer. You'll back my time. Thank you.
Well, yeah, because Randy's on the TV screen.
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to inform Randy, I haven't done so already, at 121st Street Station, bathrooms are constantly inactive, and I would like to know, that's why I was illegally lost for trespassing approximately 19 years ago, and it definitely didn't appreciate.
Okay. Any other Metro North questions? Going once, going,
I have a question for Randy. Randy, I've been noticing too that the train type app, if we travel between, Grand Central and any stations in the Bronx, I've been noticing that, there's been, confusion that if a person wants to, use the city ticket option in the off-peak, there's been appearing, the off-peak option in addition to the city ticket option. I want you to bring that to, Kathy. And also, I'm gonna keep appearing to, New Jersey Transit to bring them the case to, offer more, service to, our side of the west of Hudson. And regarding accessibility, because they are lacking, of accessibility in our New Jersey Transit station that covers, west of Hudson.
Mr. State got that. I didn't get your whole thing, but I'm sure Lisa or Kara or Jess got it and follow up.
we'll relay that to you, Randy. All righty.
So I think
Charles?
Charlton has a question, but we'd really like to get the Kara's presentation. Can we
Let's-
just take, okay, you wanna go?
Charles, you have a quick question for Metro North?
Actually, it's not Metro North, but it's something urgent that I wanted to bring up. If I can, or you want me to wait?
Let's,
Can we get to new business?
when we get to new business, you can bring it up.
Okay, I'll do it.
All right, so we're gonna go to, Kara Girl's presentation regarding the PCA funding thermometer.
Yep, so we're just gonna preface this by saying that, as you know, and as, just before, the budget is in flux right now. It's in the process of being developed, with an April 1st deadline, with, several different funding sources. The MTA, sorely needs a new funding paradigm. Ridership is not just the only, ridership revenue cannot be the only way that it is funded, because it's just, otherwise fares will be $900 each, and service will be anywhere between that.
And we rely more on the fare box than others.
Yes, we rely more on the fare box for others than others.
We do.
So we have, staff, Kara has been working very closely with Shaul, and Liam has been working with them, as well to develop this, the funding thermometer, which many of you have seen before, which we've used previously for, the capital program budget, and we looked at for the operating program budget, to, look at how much revenue different funding sources could potentially bring in as our elected officials are discussing and, different, funding scenarios for the April 1st deadline. So, Sarah is going to give you a, we have, developed, and it's on our website now.
By introduction, Lisa, as you said, this funding tool really came out of, the need to fund transit and the MTA, through more sources beyond the fare box. And so this tool was developed, in order to show, different options for doing so. And so we made it so that, so in each out year, so this is, this first slide is 2023. We have a total goal of $600 million, which is the, funding gap in 2023 that the MTA has been talking about for the last few months to a year. So we have all of these different kinds of funding options, everything from the governor's proposals in her most recent budget to other, increases in various taxes and fees, things that have been thrown out in the past, that you can check the boxes for. I'm going to check off, the proposal from the governor's budget for the city to fund student MetroCard fees. See that it shows up in this chart where you can then click on other options as well, which will then add up and they stack together. And then eventually, hopefully, you will pass the goal of 600 million. And you can do this for 2023, 2024, 2025, and 2026 with a growing budget gap up to $1.7 billion in 2020.
Can you scroll down funding sources?
These are all potential options. We are not necessarily saying that any of these are better than the other, although the governor's
About
budget.
value capture on there somewhere?
That's not capturable?
Yeah,
I
that is.
know. We don't know what the rate would be, so, yeah.
Where it would be approved.
Yeah. So we, Shaul did a lot of very intense calculations and a lot of research on proposals that have numbers out there to be able to display in a way that we could add up with other proposals. And again, we're not saying necessarily that any of these should, not that all of them should be done or that any of them are particularly better than others. Just the point is trying to make the point that there are so many options available for the state legislature and the governor to enact, including and beyond the governor's 2024 proposed budget.
Could you read some of the?
Is this on our website?
Yeah, it is the website. It is.
Oh, it's on the website?
It is.
In a readable type?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and you can also zoom in on that as well.
This is done purely alphabetically, as far as the list.
Yes, the list is purely alphabetical.
Yeah,
Yes.
there's not many. Based on the amounts of money involved in each area. Sorted out that way?
We also have a document that goes more in depth on each of these proposals, where we explain some of the background of the situation, and we go through both the sources and break down into more specific categories what each of these proposals, where they came from, and what they would raise and how they would raise that money.
And you've all seen that document before. We've shared this with you over the last few months.
But who did these proposals come from? Are you indicating with each
Yes,
proposal?
yes.
The source?
Yes.
And whether it just came from
Yes.
somewhere out in the blue
Yes.
as opposed to
Yes.
somebody in office?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
See, like the carbon tax right there, proposed by the Climate Community Investment Act.
See, and
So,
it's got, we've
yeah.
got, and everything is footnoted with links
Oh,
to
that's,
where.
that's readable.
Yep.
Now I get it.
This
Yeah.
is linked also on that webpage, which is all housed on the homepage of our website.
And if you go to the bottom of this document, you'll see that we show also where, there are tables and charts of funding, and funding needs, but also a breakdown, of how other systems are funded, where they primarily get their funding sources from.
Yes, that's extremely useful.
And it really shows, if you go even further down, it's in, pie chart.
Yeah.
And since it's lunchtime, everything is high. That shows really how, we differ, from other systems.
Did you do all of that?
Our very smart intern, Shaul, did nearly all of the research, and we worked together to compile it. And
That's really impressive.
Very Karen shepherded him, and they steered and guided and led, and through
Were you
very,
wearing a
with
shepherd
this,
outfit?
Karen, thank you for doing
that
this.
shepherd
It
spot
makes
right
my
there.
life a lot simpler.
Sir, you have a question?
Yeah, so this is fantastic, and thank you. The one thing I would put on the table, and I'd be curious what the rest of the committee believes, is for the interactive tool,
Yes.
it's overwhelming, right? I mean, there's
Yeah.
a lot of options there. And if you take a look, as opposed to the PDF document, which is really the research document, the interactive tool, those things are commonly used as more of a gamification, right? You take a look at how the media uses these kinds of things to solve problems, right? So, I don't know if we think it's appropriate for the committee to be putting out something that's effectively, an entertainment interactive thing on a serious issue, but it might be, and then that it might get more engagement that way. You have, if you boil down the options to a list of, say 20, you allow somebody to pick those 20 things, and then they hit a button at the end, and it calculates, and it gives you the answer. You solved it or you didn't. And, and it becomes a little more interactive that people are competing.
Well,
Think about the tone if that's
so
where we want to go.
the goal is to allow elected officials to see what, because there are so many different proposals out there.
Right.
What they could raise using various, different sources.
Right, the question is, do we want to have an ancillary goal of getting the public to pressure the elected officials to pick?
Well, I'm glad, so glad you said that. But, they're working on this right now, on the budget right now. They're gonna come out next week, their, one house budget, or the week after. And, the work then begins to gel or, put together, negotiate, with the governor's office on what is gonna come out of that. If, if we're happy to come down to a smaller number of these, it's been challenging to, at best, to bring it down to the number that because of the, I guess, need to say these are the ones that what we want. Nobody really wants to say, I like taxes, but, what we've been, in all the conversations we've had for the last year plus, our understanding has been that, it's much more likely that we're going to see any action on existing season taxes than on anything new. And so, some of these are existing season taxes. Some of these are pieces of legislation or, budget bills that have been raised by legislators who are, doing the budget dance. And we'll be very happy to do their legislation. And, I think that if anybody feels strongly about any, then we certainly encourage you to speak with your elected. To that end, what we would like to do is ask you all to reach out to your electeds, and we'll share with you a template letter, which we haven't drafted, but we will, supporting the need for operating funding for the MTA. And if there are things that you are particularly like, then that would be something that you would be very great to put in. But we know also that there are people in different, West of Hudson folks may not be as happy with some of the things.
Oh, yeah, obviously.
So, because we are regionally representative, it's harder down things that,
And just like people in Eastern Long Island where the service is very limited,
Another question of the same format, is it possible to show last year's budget orientation by the source?
Probably, but, not, I don't think there's happening.
That would show where it's come from in the past.
MTA has that, in their board books usually.
We may have that, a chart of that.
If we can relate that to the current year, it's probably important.
It's still in the website.
There is a chart of that. It's, it has a lot of acronyms like TOA, different taxes and fees.
Sharon, any questions?
Is there a number for how much of each individual was paying for the ride, what the ride would cost?
It was, right now, so right now, the fare box revenue, the percentage of your fare is about 24%, but it was closer to more than 50.
But if I was buying a ticket, what would that price be?
If
Roughly double.
If
If there was no subsidies?
If there were no subsidies, how much would a ticket cost?
When we were, during the height of COVID, before there was any bailout, and we were in the real darkest days of looking at the operating funding crisis, we're talking about a 40% increase. And so that's, $3 times $12.
It's good to know that.
Yeah.
People should know that.
But that's
You're
not
getting a
something the
$12
MTA has
ticket
come
for
out
X.
with, because the governor has come out with proposals that would eradicate this year's budget deficit and address and begin to address last year's as well.
Strategic.
Yeah, when you're talking about, contacting legislatures, I mean, there's a term that we who are involved with it, we call it the decision makers, where you have certain, Andrea Stewart Cousins has more of a voice as a leader of the Senate than, somebody who was just elected. I mean, it's just a matter of reality. And I'm wondering if in preparing all of this, has there been any consideration of contacting the quote unquote, that's the term that's used, the decision makers, and sort of just getting a feeling from them what is realistic, what isn't realistic.
So
just like I brought up, and Andrew and I brought up about the casino.
So there, we've done that individually and collectively. We've done that individually. In fact, right before this meeting, we met with Senator Comrie, who was the head of.
Senator, who, I'm sorry?
Leroy Comrie.
Oh, yeah.
To get a sense of what of his thoughts, and what would be helpful, and to let him know that we're going to send information to him as well. We, as part of the advocacy community working group, with whom we meet regularly, and we meet with the MTA regularly as well, frankly, have sent letters to elected officials, the offers, as it were, expressing the importance of the operating funding. Yes, absolutely. As you know, all politics is also local. So electeds are most likely to listen to their direct constituents.
Yeah, but they are also most likely to listen to their leadership.
So we're doing both.
Rather than continue this discussion, I think I would be happy to sit down because of my other life that I live, and give you some information, just like I did about the casino funding, so that you aren't reaching out to some people that it's just, they may say something publicly a different way. So maybe, Kara, I'll sit down with you and Lisa within the next week or so, and
Okay, let's set something up next week.
yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Very welcome.
Anybody on the outside? Any other questions?
There was a question on the chat I saw earlier,
That's, been,
and hands are waving now.
Charles.
All right.
Sharon?
All right.
Yeah, I had a quick point I wanted to make. So we went to Albany about 2 weeks ago, and we were there from 10 a.m. to 5:45. We visited over 54 offices, and we submitted proposals of our own, some of the things that we felt needed to be funded in the MTA. So again, we look forward to your support, and we will definitely take a look at your proposal, the PCAC one from the people at Passengers United, and we'll work as well to see what we can do as well up to Albany. That's point number one. I wanted to make another point, but that's a new business. So.
Okay. Okay, so Kara, thank you for the presentation. All righty, so going down to old business. Does anybody have any old business that they want to bring up? Council members first.
Recognize me?
All right, you.
I'll talk. Many years ago, I spoke to Andy Bison about the toilets in the subway, and he was aware of it, tried to planning to reopen. Fast forward, 2 months ago, the MTA announced they would open up 5 toilets, 1 for each borough. That's very, very modest progress. I don't think I can wait that long until they reach Sheepshead Bay. So my complaint is the same complaint I had 5 years ago, President Bison. You've got to open up bathrooms. Now, the city is about to open up paid toilets, standalones, at $1 million apiece. These are already in place. All you got to do is clean them up, refurbish them, and find the staff to keep them clean. It's not an impossible job. So I'd like, since I'm a transit rider, I'd like to see some progress made on this rather than one for each borough.
Okay.
All right?
So noted.
Wait.
Mr. X?
Regarding 12-8 for AK quarterly bidding, my surname was misspelled.
Okay, we'll correct that, our apologies, thank you.
Gentleman in the group?
David. Next big, any idea as to when the next big project for Long Island Railroad would be? Personally,
What's happening?
What about double tracking and electrification from Patchogue to Spear?
That's a long way off. That might be in the 20-year needs assessment, but it's nothing pending, nothing that's gonna happen anytime soon.
What does it mean now?
It's nothing that's gonna happen anytime soon.
Rosalind has her hand up as well.
Rosalind?
I recognize that we're at a physical crisis. And I also recognize that a lot of what we're communicating now is part of a massive negotiation to try to get the money that we need. My two questions are, one, and maybe I haven't seen it, are we making an effort to have citizens understand in some kind of marketing that if we don't get X, then Y will happen, and Y will be less service and double the cost of fare? And I guess my second question is, at what point does doomsday arrive? Because I know we're negotiating for money now, but at what point will we actually see the system impacted? And, you know, hopefully that would help in the process, just in terms of getting support.
So the MTA's gone out, and Jano talks pretty regularly about, the need for operating funding, and that we're at a fiscal cliff in a dire situation. They haven't done an ad campaign that I've seen, but, I think that what they're doing is talking to the electeds and to civic associations and to business associations, and to get the, those who know, engaged, so that they can get the budget passed with funding in it, which is due on April 1st. Now, the potentiality for a fare increase would be, it has already been floated, and that money is in the budget now. It is in the anticipated budget. So, a fare increase isn't being, there are no hearing schedules currently because they want to wait to see what's going to happen in the budget. So, I think that everybody who is in an elected office who has spoken in leadership and not in leadership has said that they understand that funding the MTA is a top priority. Must be done. So, I think at least for this year, $600 million would be relatively easy. It's the structural change and the ongoing years of deficit that are really looking at the biggest problem. But there, in the city, there's a lot of people about it. I think we probably, for us, we as staff talked about writing up ads for Long Island and for the Hudson Valley, talked about the importance of funding. So we'll be running that by.
Transit systems nationwide are experiencing this
Oh, yeah,
since COVID.
it's not a.
We need federal operating assistance.
Federal operating assistance is something that's in the works, but it's not gonna happen right now.
It's not gonna happen for a while.
Right, it's not gonna happen for a while, but it is in deep conversation, and it's being looked at more in depth than it was in even recent years.
Alrighty, doesn't appear that there's any other old business, any new business?
I did have old business, but everyone else has handled it out.
Oh, go ahead.
The one question that I was waiting for a follow-up question from last month's meeting, we said we were gonna get back to it, is the outreach levels. Since now we are getting staff and stuff and we're sending you guys stuff with the pictures, if you guys can't be there, if one of us is there, are we gonna be adding that into the website soon?
We will, have you sent us pictures?
Yes.
We're still running as fast as we can to stay in place. We don't have new staff yet. We have, Tara is one person and 2 jobs. So we ask you to.
How about we just say 3 jobs, cause
We just ask you to be a little patient, as we're continuing to staff up.
You're running as much service as you can with the crews you have available.
Exactly, thank you.
It's the A train. Well, no, Andrew, you're forgetting, Carr's doing 3 A trains. One goes to Far Rockaway, Rock Park, and Leopard Boulevard.
Okay, well, we're at 2:00, so let's go see if anybody has any new business, and then we can adjourn. Charlton, you said you had something you wanted to bring up for new business?
Yeah, so the questions I asked earlier about why the old M3 antiquated cars are running on the Atlantic branch for the shuttle service and they're breaking down. And then the other question is, why can we have more trains added to Penn Station to help ease the overcrowding and cut some of those Grand Central trains and pull them away? And also, there needs to be better communication on the trains. We're getting a lot of complaints about that. And also with the shuttle service, some of the direct trains are coming in on tracks 1 and 2 or 3, and then they're telling people that it's going to be on 11 and 12 at Jamaica, tracks 11 and 12. It's creating a lot of confusion. So let me I'll let you answer the questions in the order that I gave them to you.
I don't think we know the
All right,
answer.
well, we're not in a position to answer that. I mean, as far as the M3s going to Brooklyn, they need every piece of rolling stock they have to meet their schedules. So everything's rolling. That's why they kept the M3s and didn't put them in the scrapyard. So.
Yeah, I think Charlton's point is, because it's now a shuttle only, basically, are they relegating all the M3s?
No, M3s are everywhere.
But Brooklyn had a variety of car types before.
There were 3 sets on Tuesday. And Charlton is correct, there was one did break down, and it caused train congestion. The first time I ever heard of train congestion on a Brooklyn branch. But the one thing is, it's not just on that branch, it was also on the Babylon branch last week. A train broke down right on where the diesel train was stuck behind them. The Montail train was stuck. And the problem is these M3s have been breaking down too many times. You have, in the Hillside Yard, you have M7s and M9s there. Can we ask them to please use some healthier trains?
They're using the healthier trains wherever they can. The M3, I mean, it's in a lot of cases, you get an M3 or you get nothing. So there's only so much rolling stock, and they have to be able to hit all these schedules.
No, I understand what the schedule, I'm just saying, if it's
Right.
possible.
So in terms of the schedules being changed, because, I spoke with the railroad, they said they're not going to be changing the schedules. They're just making adjustments train by train. Is that true on your end of what you're hearing?
Yes.
It's a very small sample size. We're only on day 4 right now. I mean, our push, and I had a conversation just this morning, our push is we got to get rid of the crowding. The crowding, it's a safety issue, and the fact that we've got 2/3 of pre-COVID ridership and 40% increase in, there's no reason that any train should be standing room only. That's what they need to adjust. How they adjust it, I can't tell them how to run their railroad. All I can tell them is, we have a problem and the customers are unhappy. It's up to them how to deal with it. So we have their assurances that, they're looking into it. Jano himself was out at the Jamaica Control Center on Wednesday morning, I believe it was. Yesterday. He was out there yesterday morning. So.
Got an earful.
Yeah, so you got an earful. And they had a press conference today, and I got to tell you that the press jumped all over them. There were some very unhappy faces when they came out of that meeting.
Jano's one of them?
No. but it was Kathy, Ted Minton, Rob Free.
Yeah,
and,
no,
you know,
press is not good.
And, Jerry, one thing just to back you up, you gotta remind everyone in Jamaica, those elevators and exits are not MTA, those are Port Authority.
Okay,
Because anything goes out, it's not MTA responsibility, it's the Port Authority's
well,
responsibility.
at the air train.
Yes,
Yeah.
and those elevators that go to track 1 through 11 are not ours, they're Port Authority. As Hector said this before, and I know Nick said it, and Anna has said it. It is Port Authority.
Okay. What was your third question, Charles?
So yeah, so my third question is, in terms of the combo ticket, right? I know it's not valid from, like, let's say, Jamaica all the way to like Fordham Road in the Bronx with the city ticket. Why can they have a city ticket that you could do that with?
I think that the combo ticket is, but it's less expensive to buy 2 city tickets.
Yeah, you wouldn't wanna buy a
You
combo
don't wanna
ticket.
buy a combo ticket.
Not
No,
for
no,
that trip.
I mean, instead of the combo, that's what I'm trying to say. So you know how we pay $5,
Yeah.
right? It should just be a $5 one ticket from Jamaica to Fordham instead of.
Yeah, absolutely, that's part of
We'd
the
love
fair
to see
policy
that.
stuff we're looking at, absolutely, recommendations that we'll be making.
And there is a policy, working group, right?
There's a fair policy working group, and PCAC, staff are looking at, fair policies as well.
So we're waiting to hear back
The
from the
ADA
MTA.
task force are also putting their input in as well, because the reduced fare prices are not on the app as well, so
Right, 'cause-
noted.
Right, because the reason why so many people are going to Atlantic Terminal Brooklyn is because of the deep discounts. So if deep discounts were offered at Grand Central or Penn Station, then people would be willing to make the switch. I think it's also an economical issue as to why so many are going to Atlantic.
Are these tickets available?
And it's on the app.
I have tested it.
Mr. X had a question, but then
Yeah.
we're at 2:06.
All right, so, Mr. X,
Water level service between Jamaica and Florida City. Between Rockcover and Greenport, between Jamaica and Montauk. That's terrible. We have riders who are still paying. Where's the money going to? Going to get extra cars, extra fleet, extra service? Or is this going up their nostrils? Is it? It's going up their nostrils.
well, we agree to disagree on that one. All right, last call, any
Motion
questions?
to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn?
Second.
Give a second.
Thank you all.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye, aye. Thank you.
Motion carries, we're adjourned.
There's your 2 attendance sheets here.
You know why I am.